So I'm going to give an update to this Travis Decker case. So here's a new picture of Travis Decker, and even though he could, be clean shaven and have a bald head, he could have, a beard and a mustache and a ponytail. He's going to have those tattoos. He's going to have that face. He's going to have that body with the weird sunken in pecs, right? So, he's got decent arms, I guess, but, and I would say he's fit, but his pecs just don't seem proportional to the rest of his body. Now, this is Travis Decker, and of course, Travis Decker is the father who killed his 3 daughters. We don't know why. We don't know what the motive was, and I don't want to speculate too much about it, but I do feel like thinking about some of how the initial incident happened could give us an indication of where he is at. Why do I say that? Because he left the truck. Why did he leave the truck? He had 3 hours of visitation with her, so the daughter. So he picks them up, and he doesn't return that night. And it's kind of crazy because they were missing since May 30th, and then they found their bodies on June 3rd or the 2nd. So they found their bodies like 3 or 4 days later. They didn't issue an Amber Alert. They didn't immediately go, what the hell is up with this guy? They shared custody. He had custody for 2 days and only a few hours during the day. And so he had him for 3 hours, and he didn't return, at 8 p.m. on that Friday. So if I'm the parent, I'm freaking the fuck out that day, the next day, every day, up until, my babies come back. I'd be like, what in the hell is going on here? They're talking about possible charges, kidnapping, custodial interference, and murder. I feel like some of that conversation is premature because he's still out there. He's still out there. There are some people that had mentioned, somebody mentioned Robert Fisher. Then they also mentioned something about Keller. There's a guy named Keller, and they said that he had some sort of cabin out in the woods out there too. And so there was somebody else had mentioned another name, which I hadn't wrote down. But that's okay. He's an Afghanistan veteran. They say he's got a borderline personality disorder, which I'll expand upon here in a second, because I'm not for sure. I kind of know what it means, but I kind of forgot, so we'll have to just look at that. He can live off grid for 2.5 months. He could live off grid for 2.5 months. They say that he was acting weird. He was super quiet. He was super quiet when he picked up the girls. He was super quiet talking to the neighbor and to the mother. They said, it wasn't ordinary. It was a weird quiet. It was like too quiet. So we need to find this guy. We need to find this guy, and if it's just up to the authorities and the technology that they use, I know all hands on deck, but, when you go to search for somebody, like, you could do like a clean sweep, have a helicopter fly all over the place, but if he's inside a cabin, if he's inside a building, he could be anywhere. He could have unalived himself, but I feel like 95% chance he's still alive. Just prepare for the worst, hope for the best kind of thing. And so, prepare for the worst. You have a father, 32-year-old Afghanistan veteran with wilderness training. He was in the U.S. Army for 7 years. He was in the National Guard for 3 years. He just killed his 3 daughters, and so I don't know what he expected to do after that. I mean, I'm not for sure what the game plan would be. They found a bloody handprint on the back of his truck. They said in his truck there was several items that were left, like a blanket and some other stuff. They don't know if he's armed or not, but they also just speculate that maybe he had some supplies that he had, hidden out in the world just so he could, survive for a thing like this. 2.5 months off grid. He can live 2.5 months off of grid, off grid without any running water and electric, just eating what berries and drinking what water he can drink, and I guess just sleeping in the grass. But he's been only missing, for 7 or 8 days. So that means he could still survive for another 67 days. And then the other person who I can't remember, they had said that that person had stayed hidden for years, which is kind of crazy. Stay hidden for years? It's in the Rocky Mountains, so it is kind of like Rambo, only the opposite of Rambo. Rambo was doing something righteous. He was wrongly, they had yelled at him because he was a long-haired, hippie, Vietnam vet kind of guy and just a drifter. Get the hell out of here, you. So it was police brutality. So he had a reason for why he, had, ran into the woods and hid from the authorities and kind of declared a one-man war against the authorities. But, yeah, so that was based on some righteous shit. So he's like the, I guess, dark Rambo. He's like evil Rambo or some shit. But he's out in the woods, out in the mountains, maybe in a cave, maybe in an abandoned cabin, maybe in a ravine. There's no telling exactly where he's at. He could walk 20 miles a day, so he could be up in Canada. He could be out of Washington State. Most likely he's around the vicinity, but if he's trekking, he can keep on trekking. And then he's got a lot of different looks. I mean, this guy looks different than what I had seen these other looks to be. That looks like a very Caucasian guy. But Travis Decker, he just has particular features, and this is superficial, but I'm being superficial so we can find out precisely, where this guy is. So, he's got a goatee, he's got, black hair, black mustache. They say he has a ponytail. He's 5'8", 190 pounds. Here's a picture of him with a Ring camera. He's got like these glasses, so he's trying to be like somewhat stylish. Here's another picture, a couple other pictures. So you basically get the gist. But I want to just really kind of hone in on this picture here, where looks like he's got a little olive to him, right? He's got a little darkness to him. So I don't know if he's got some Native American in him or if he's got some Guatemalan to him. He's also got some squinty eyes, too. So he's got squinty eyes, I would say, kind of a round, proportional face, what have you. But a little darker skin and some squinty eyes. So where is this Travis Decker? What the fuck did you do, man? Why did you do this shit, you fucking lowlife? This is such a cowardly... It's a crime against God, a crime against nature, a crime against man. It's just a despicable, If you want to snap, that's one thing, but to snap against your own children, I don't know. That's a bad look. He's not going to survive in prison, that's for sure. And then there's no capital punishment, so he'll get life in prison, most likely in Washington State. Unless there's federal charges. How come that ain't terrorism? Isn't terrorism attacking civilians for political reasons? If you just attack civilians for no apparent reason at all, is that it's terroristic and it was terrorizing, but it's not technically terrorism. Oh, okay. Meanwhile, that one guy in Colorado, dropped some Molotov cocktails and burned some people, but he didn't murder 3 kids. 3 kids are fucking murdered in Washington State by this fucking guy. So I have an update here, and I was just going to share just some of the new information that I've come across. He's already had a 8-day head start, or maybe 4 or 5 day head start. There was that series 48 hours. Like as soon as the murder happens, you got to really take a look at the evidence and the clues and the leads, and then you got 48 hours to basically find the person, because the trail's going to go cold. And the trail's going to go cold quick, so you got to find one piece of evidence, another piece of evidence, and then you just got to keep building, keep moving forward, keep on True Grit. I don't know if you've ever seen True Grit. You just have to, you got to find the new lead. Once you find one lead, leads you that direction, then you got to kind of keep on going that way, because if you're following them, then that's good, but if, you go off track, they go north and you go south, well, then you're just getting further and further away from them. So let's get some updates. Okay. So Whitney is the wife's name. There was some affidavit where she had requested for him to get some anger management courses, psychological evaluation, parenting courses, something like that. In her affidavit, she said that she was never beaten. He was not domestically violent against her, but she did say at the divorce to her neighbor that he went crazy and beat her. And so there was some major incident that had happened. I mean, to beat somebody, it wasn't like, he kind of, nudged me. That one guy in Maine, he got in trouble for pushing his, spouse. But to say that you beat them, and he just beat me, So beat me is, I would think, several punches, several slaps, some sort of leg sweep. Beat is like, that just seems like you're attacked several times and you go down, right? And there might be, and apparently he had a bruised face too. His face was bruised, and then she was beaten. They got a divorce after that had happened. But not a history of domestic violence, which is interesting. The kids' names, I think it's important to remember their names for all of eternity. It kind of grinds my gears when they just use the initials, like you're protecting the privacy of Peyton and Evelyn and Olivia. You're not protecting Olivia's privacy by not saying her damn name. She's dead forever. The least you could do is say her name. When you say her name to the earth, she's still alive, So Olivia Decker, Olivia, Evelyn, Peyton, Evelyn, Olivia. He was a pot smoker. It was in Chelan County near Rock Island. He only had him for 3 hours, which is crazy. He one time returned the 3 girls. Evelyn, she had welts in between her legs, which I'm not sure what that means. Welts in between her legs. I don't know what that means. That could be something. Could go to motive. He had abused them. How have you been? He kept asking that question to the neighbors over and over again without really hearing the answer. How you been? Oh, okay. How you been, man? Okay, so it seems like he was thinking of something else. Mike Morrison is the sheriff. I'm not sure who this Robert Fisher is. They're not talking about Bobby Fischer. They're talking about somebody else. Oh, Rudolph. That's the person's name. I don't know who the Rudolph person is, but they said it took him years to catch Rudolph. It's interesting that he left his dog. They said they found his dog. So you're going to kill your 3 daughters. And what a fucking coward. But I wonder if it had something to do with getting back at her. Who knows? It's definitely evil, and it's definitely cowardly. It's despicable. One of the most despicable. Makes me think of that damn Colorado fucker. I heard that the children were well behaved and very polite. And so that Colorado fucker, when he killed the wife, he put like a bag over her head, and he was like, we're going to play a game. And she's like, okay. And then he takes like a sledgehammer or something to her head, and she's still alive, and she just says her last words were, please stop. Please stop. Don't do this to me. Don't hit me again. And then he did it again. So they were kind. They were polite. They were decent. So that means his daughters would have essentially gone wherever he wanted them to go and do whatever he wanted them to do. He did have borderline personality disorder. He was homeless, living in hotels, living in campgrounds, living out of his truck. That would be hard to do. That would be hard to do. I mean, if you have a choice between being a helicopter parent or just giving your kids absolute, freedom to do whatever, I feel like there should be a middle ground, right? There should be you don't want to be too strict, but you don't want to be so. Oh God, I don't know how Whitney wasn't freaking out. Apparently Whitney has raised nearly $1 million with GoFundMe, so she should be fine, kind of set for life. I'm sure she's got 3 holes in her heart, and 3 of her universes are just taken away. There was this one awesome saying, I forget the guy's name, I wrote a bunch of his quotes, Jay Krishnamurti, he had said, if your friend, if you like your friend or whatever, just tell them when they die, wherever they go, you are there with them. And I love that. And even if you're not there with them, in spirit, in a way, you do have a huge loss. And then eventually you'll get to where they are, right? So wherever they go, you'll eventually totally get there. But there is that great sense of loss, right? So wherever you go, I'm actually right there with you. I'm right there with you. So he left his dog. I'm not for sure what that's about, and maybe even in the campground, because the dog would follow the man, right? Wouldn't the dog just go with the man wherever he wants the dog to go to? Interesting, he killed his own goddamn, this piece of shit killed his own kids, but he didn't kill the dog. There's a blood print, handprint on the back of the truck. Most likely his, but the police are saying they don't know whose it is. Which, does that mean there's somebody else? There's a man or a woman, somebody else? I mean, it does seem, Occam's razor seems like he did it. He did it alone. He has all these issues. And he snapped for some damn reason. Maybe to get back at his wife. Maybe something, he didn't like his kids or something. I don't know. Maybe it was the psychiatric, the court thing. Maybe it was the National Guard. He was going to the National Guard and he quit going to the National Guard. So he just kind of has, less and less prospects, and he's just kind of spiraling out of control. Our lack of a social safety net. The VA gives terrible care. Who knows, why people do what they do. It's a human motive, I'm sure, but it's evil, right? People are just sadistic sometimes, and there's something else. There was, they told 3 of the counties, the areas of Chelan, Kittitas. There's 3 counties here. So Snohomish, Okanagan, Snohomish, Kittitas, King County, and Chelan County. They're all like on a lockdown kind of atmosphere. And what they're saying is to all of them, they had like a bunch of bullet points, but essentially to keep your lights on outside, keep your lights on outside, keep your eyes open. If you happen to see them, make sure you report it. There's a different article. Was it this one? It's actually really good. So they said, don't approach him, right? They always say that for actually liability reasons. I say the opposite. If you see him, go confront him. Go confront him, see what he's got. And, disarm him and fight him. And, if you don't think you could take him, if you don't think you have enough manpower or enough weapons, then, call 911 or go to the nearest neighbor. But they were saying in the people in the remote areas to, that they would be very much vulnerable. Because if he's just one person out there in the woods, well, he's going to pop out somewhere out of the woods. And then, if a house is by itself, well, then that's going to be a good candidate for him to stay. He could find some abandoned cabin as well. They're saying make sure you lock all your doors, including the sheds and outbuildings. Leave the window blinds open, which I don't know if that's a good idea. Leave the window blinds open. Maybe. Turn out all your lights. Turn out all your lights on the inside and turn out all the lights on the outside, so if the blinds are open, you can see outside. So you don't want to have the lights off outside and the lights on the inside with your blinds open, because then he'll see what you're up to. So you want to understand the mirror effect of a window, but keep on the outside lights. I think that's a good idea to lock your doors and probably, keep your window blinds open. When they had that manhunt at the Daniel Boone National Forest, they were talking about just be vigilant. If you hear dogs barking, just think that might be something. It was almost too much because the guy had just offed himself. And so, he had shot at people along the interstate. And then he just offed himself, so there was this great big, panic and this manhunt for basically no fucking reason since the guy had offed himself. I would think if you had offed himself, it would have been in the vicinity. In the Daniel Boone National Forest, that guy was within the vicinity, like within, I want to say within 5 miles just to be sure, but I almost want to say it was like within 1 mile. It was like right there where he was doing the damn shooting, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know how long it takes for a body to start decomposing. I mean, it only takes, 2 or 3 days, really. So I would think a dog would smell that. So he still can stay out in the woods for 2 months and a week. Apparently his wife is a super empath. He had all those tattoos. I want to take a look at those tattoos, right? So he's got like 2 bands on his left forearm. He's got like this skull with a parachute on his inner, forearm. And I'm not for sure what those words are there. But he's got this, big shoulder tattoo with all the red and all the black on it. And I'm not for sure. I just heard, too, that this is the 3rd time that somebody from the military killed their whole family this year. which that seems messed up. You were supposed to protect and love your family and encourage them and motivate them and make sure you have a college fund and make sure they're well educated and encourage them to get a career. But instead you brutally fucking murdered them? Holy fucking shit. Holy shit. Makes me think of Miss Rachel just saying, when I take care of my babies, they got to have, 3 meals a day, and I try to make sure they're comfortable and that everything's quiet and peaceful for them, and he didn't do any of those things. And then when she's like, maybe it was those court things, the psychological evaluation and parent counseling shit. I mean, it's like, motherfucker, I'm fucking homeless, so it's like I'm going through some real life shit. If anything, I think he should have just suspended his visitation just on his own. And if I was her, I wouldn't have let them go with him anywhere, knowing that he could be living out of his truck. Just stay here. Stay here. We'll watch a couple movies. We'll, play some board games or something, or we'll just talk. Let's just go out on the porch. He's a pot smoker, so smoke some weed with him and just talk about how are things and what are your options. Do you think that you see light at the end of the tunnel? Because all these things are human, things that people go through. But if people are kind of, I don't know, if people are being shitty to him, that only kind of exacerbates the problem, right? It's interesting he had a dog. They said they found the dog, which I should look into some of that. There's something about Keller's. The Keller's case, he could be in Keller's shelter. Where is Keller? Where is this Keller's shelter? What about this Robert Fisher? And what's up with this Rudolph? I think actually by comparing and contrasting these other cases, game theory says there's only so many options. So we'll just start out with 2 options. Either he unalived himself or he's still alive. Prepare for the worst. He's still alive. And that means he's out there and he's dangerous. Okay? So now what's the next thing? So most likely he's alive. He's out there. He's still dangerous. He could stay out there for 2.5 months. Now this just happened. The news just broke. People are pissed off. She just raised $1 million. And so... But the way with the damn news cycle, 24/7, people are getting shot. Like 50 people get shot every goddamn day in America. Seems like something is fucking going crazy all over the place in America. All over the place. Which is terrifying if you consider us being in late stage capitalism and we're a failing empire. So it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. And if you think of entropy, if you just think of the mathematics, the more craziness that other people are getting, and then that's going to put a burden on the police and the prison systems, and that's going to be more craziness coming out of the police and the prison systems, and then that's all hell's going to break loose. What's that? The Falconer, the Falcon will become the Falconer, and the sinner cannot hold, and all hell breaks loose. What's that poem? J. Alfred Prufrock. Some people are just speculating about how he had killed them, and I don't want to get too gruesome. I feel like just when Novesti, he's been covering this case, and he had mentioned, like, why did he leave his truck there? Why did he leave his truck? If this was, like, deliberate, if he had deliberated doing this because he was acting nervous and acting weird, why did he leave his truck? Why did he leave his truck there? Because if he got inside his truck, he could be... in Timbuktu right now. He could be on Neptune. He could be on Mars. He could be in Fiji or what are those colonies of America. He could be in one of those, what do they call those? I'm going to check that out. And then I'm also going to check out atolls. He could be hanging out in one of those atolls. American colonies. No, right now you got the atoll, and then you have Puerto Rico. Territories of the United States. Yeah, that's good. But I also want to look at borderline personality disorder. What is borderline personality disorder? A mental health condition characterized by difficulties in regulating emotions, maintaining stable relationships, and having a consistent sense of self. If you don't have your feet planted on the ground, you don't have your own house, your own land, and if you don't have a safe house to go to, that would mess with your sense of self, because who are you? Are you an American? Are you a Washingtonian? Are you an Earthling? Are you just, Travis? Hey, I'm just Travis. Individuals with borderline personality disorder often experience intense mood swings, unstable relationships, impulsivity, which can lead to self-harm and suicide attempts. Experiencing extreme emotional reactions to events, including periods of intense sadness, anger, or anxiety, difficulties in forming and maintaining healthy relationships, often with intense attachment and fear of abandonment, difficulty identifying with a consistent sense of self, including fluctuating self-esteem, unstable goals, acting without thinking about the consequences, such as spending sprees, risky sexual behavior, or substance abuse, engaging in behaviors that harm oneself, such as cutting, burning, or overdosing, increased risk of suicide attempts and suicidal thoughts, and intense fear of being abandoned or left alone, which can lead to frantic efforts to avoid such situations. Childhood trauma, neglect, or abuse can increase the risk. Family history of mental health disorders also increase the risk. The exact causes are not understood. Both genetic and environmental factors are thought to play a role. Talk therapy is the primary treatment for bipolar disorder. So he just didn't have someone to talk to. That is a failure of the VA. Why didn't the Washington authorities do an Amber Alert? What the fuck are these motherfuckers thinking? What are they fucking thinking? I mean, Whitney did not cause a big enough fucking stink about this shit because he left. He was supposed to be back in 3 hours. He didn't show up for the night. How do you even go to sleep? How do you even go to bed that night? I don't fucking shit. Holy shit, I'm out in the fucking car just searching everybody and anywhere, until I find it myself. A police officer, came across him 4 days later. Medications can be used to manage specific symptoms like mood swings or anxiety. Hospitalization may be necessary. BPD is a complex condition. Individuals may experience different symptoms. Many people with BPD are able to live fulfilling lives with the right treatment and support. Seeking quality professional help is crucial. All right. So the territories, just thinking of, Timbuktu. I'm sure he's not in Timbuktu, but American Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and then they say that there's none uninhabited. So, hell, he could be in Baker Island, or Howland Island, or Jarvis Island. I mean, these are all American colonies. And if they're uninhabited, why? They're our colonies, and we don't even have Americans there? Midway Atoll, Kingman Reef, Johnston Atoll, Jarvis Island, Howland Island, Baker Island, Wake Island, Palmyra Atoll, Navassa Island, and then 2 claimed, but are they occupied or just disputed? Baja Nuevo Bank and Saranilla Bank. And actually, you probably should get out of America, right? So that's not a good idea to stay in America. But that would just be an interesting way to go, right? Oh man, I'm getting out of here. Where are you going? Howland Island? Who the hell would think you're on Howland Island? Population 0. No, that's according to 2000 statistics. And there are no natural freshwater resources. So you couldn't drink anything. You'd have to get ocean water and somehow get the salt out of the ocean water or collect rainwater. I would guess you could probably collect rainwater. But I'm sure he's not in Howland Island. But, probably want to get out of American jurisdiction. In Canada, I just feel like if he could stay out in the woods for 2.5 months, I mean, people are focused on it and they're pissed off. There's just so much going on right now. It's kind of hard to, focus on anything else. I mean, when you're in America, you got to make sure your economics is on the up and up, or you go down, it's your fault. So basically, a lot of people kind of have to be not selfish, but you got to tend to your self-interest. You got to tend to your garden and stick to your garden, because if your garden gets devoured, then you just might be homeless, like Travis Decker. So your economics is based upon you. I heard most Americans are within, they don't even have $500 for an emergency, so they're just one, crisis away. One blown out tire, one hospital bill, one, speeding ticket, or away from absolute ruin and destruction. So he could hide out for 2.5 months, and I'm sure people will still be pissed and people will still know his face. but just thinking he's just going to pop up on, at Walmart, and then you're, hey, are you the guy? Even that guy in Colorado, he was sitting there throwing Molotov cocktails, and you had a whole bunch of other fucking motherfuckers just standing around. They waited for the police to apprehend him. They waited for the police to apprehend him. All those people were standing around. Why didn't they do something? If I was running, this show, I would have, if I was the top cop, I would just do a grid 50-mile radius from where that Rock Island campground is, where they found, near the Rock Island campground in Chelan County. I would just start from there and work my way out and just keep on going. Have a dog, just have a bunch of like adventurers, have like 10 to 20. If the cops don't want to do it, just have like 10 to 20 adventurers. 10 to 20 just badass campers, right? Some hikers, badass people who could rough it. And make sure they go out with a gun and a knife and just with the dogs and just keep on, scaling this mountain, that mountain. And then after every day or every other day, just kind of saying, where all that they searched, have some kind of central dispatch to find, just kind of highlight each of the area that the people have gone. You probably could track everybody's phone so you would actually see the exact path of where the people had walked to. Dogs can just run so much faster, and even though their eyesight isn't very good, their hearing and their smell is, bar none, incredible. Even cows can smell really good too. So I would think that a dog could find the scent and be able to find the guy quicker. And then with people, if you're always going back to your house, well, then you kind of lose all that ground of where you walked, and then you'll have to retrace all those steps if you just keep on going, just a tent, right? You go out for a day and then just set a tent up like he's doing, and then just keep going outwards. And then just saturate a 50-mile radius. So after, let's say, a week of intensive search, when they say, oh, we didn't find him, well, fuck. Well, what's that mean? He could still be amongst us somewhere. He could be anywhere amongst us. But after doing an intense, saturated, we'll say oversaturated search, like I'm talking about with the 50-mile radius, we could at least cross out that he's most likely isn't around the area. He most likely is not within 50 miles. If he could walk 20 miles, technically he could be in Canada. Technically he could be out of Washington State. My guess is he's still within the state somewhere. He's walking along some mountainsides. If you go walk 20 miles a day, he's got 8 days to do it. So that means he's walked for 16 fucking days. Or no, let's see, 8 days, 20 miles. He could be 160 miles away. So he could have gone a lot of places. He could have gone one way, another way, and then when he saw somebody, he walked the other way, and then when they went the other way, then he came back. Maybe he doubled back, and, maybe he just temporarily, you don't have to stay in one spot. All you have to do is just find, food and water, you could just find water, so, rain and puddles or whatever. And then food-wise, that'll be more difficult because, I don't know what you would eat. You would have to really have a good understanding of berries. You'd have to have a good find some blackberry trees or something. I don't know. Some of these berries are poisonous. I've even heard the seeds of apples are poisonous. So it'd be nice to find an apple tree if you're starving, right? But don't eat the seed because it could be poisonous. Juniper tree seeds, I hear, are poisonous as well. But blackberry bush would be a good find. A lemon tree, that would it'd be sour. It'd kind of suck to find a lemon tree if you're starving. Oh, I found a fruit tree. What kind is it? Orange? Apple? Pecan? Lemon? That'd be a tart. So, yeah. There's the update. Come on, guys. Come on, Washington officials. Come on, Washingtonians, Chelan Countyans, and all those other countyans. Keep your eyes open, and the cops, fucking let your hair down a little bit, We do expect y'all to do a lot, but you're human just like anybody else. And when it came to Gabby Petito, we the people found Gabby Petito before the authorities did. So I think that they should let their hair down a little bit, and you might have a bunch of authorities doing a bunch of shit using helicopters and a lot of technology, and you got a bunch of good leads. But to have like 20 adventurers that are just out in tents, just kind of, walking the grounds that he could be walking, Also, by walking those grounds, instead of just, checking out with a helicopter, by actually walking the grounds, you can kind of see, there's always like some sort of rock. You could just hide under a rock, hide under a tree, like, unless you like, or a helicopter, and you actually, and then even if they have infrared and they're looking for body heat, there's animals out there. So you might come across a deer, a horse, a goat. You come across any kind of turkey or birds. And then during the daytime, everything's kind of hot because the sun is just kind of, making the temperature of everything really hot. So, in spite of the technology, in spite of the good intentions of the police officers, the federal forces, whoever's involved in this search, I would think all hands on deck. This is a all hands on deck kind of situation. All 5 counties, you shouldn't just turn off your damn lights or turn on your lights and then lock your doors. You should all go out and make sure, check your fucking sheds and talk to each other and see if you've seen anybody, and then hell, maybe just, foray into the woods for a couple miles just to make sure he's not like on the outskirts anywhere. Don't go alone. Go with a weapon. Go with a gun or a knife. So, that's it for now.